Stranger Things Season 5. Premiere date, watch, Season 4 splits into 2 parts. You can believe that Stranger Things, as one of those water cooler shows that continues to keep Netflix in the position it has enjoyed in the streaming wars, gets a lot of love from fans all over the world. The sci-fi horror show has kept audiences old and young, though they probably shouldn't be watching, glued to their seats for 3 seasons of terror and mischief, not to mention 80s nostalgia. However, the announcement of a 5th and final season, even before Season 4 has come out, has people squealing with excitement. Not only that, but Season 4 is being served up in 2 parts. Let's get into this and see what's going on, and of course, spoilers ahead. The latest. As many know already, the long-awaited and majorly overdue 4th season of Stranger Things is set to finally drop on Netflix on the 27th of May 2022, but it's not going to be done the normal way. In a move similar to the legendary Breaking Bad, Stranger Things Season 4 is going to be dropped in 2 halves. Following a recent announcement, it seems that after the initial first half of Season 4 drops at the end of May, a second batch making up Part 2 will be released internationally on the 1st of July, just over a month later. The worldwide excitement that's been accumulating online as fans wait for the return of Stranger Things speaks clearly to the cultural impact of the show all over the world. This is in part thanks to a lot of nostalgia for the 1980s, as many of the show's audience were kids back then themselves. But it's also due to the gripping and terrifying horror that the show has expertly deployed time and time again, keeping audiences guessing when these poor children will ever be free of the nightmare of living in Hawkins, Indiana. Not only that though, but Season 5 has been announced as the final season, and while it hasn't actually been given a release date yet, a lot of interesting things have been said about the final series, including that the creators, the Duffer Brothers, Matt and Ross, already have the ending in mind. According to the brothers, there has been an ending in place since the very beginning, but it has evolved and become more exciting over time. There's even a rumbling that they consulted Vince Gilligan, creator of the incredible shows Breaking Bad and its spin-off Better Call Saul, for advice on how to end a long-running story. Gilligan, of course, famously landed the story of Walter White and Jesse Pinkman in a way that people would call perfection. Characters. So, Season 4 is upon us then, and, well, what's in store for the long-suffering residents of Hawkins this time? First, it's clear that we can expect to see all the familiar faces you'd hope for in a 4th season of the terrifying sci-fi tale. But what about David Harbour as Chief Jim Hopper, last seen exploding in a way to stop the Russian technology from maintaining the portal to the nightmarish parallelscape that is the Upside Down? Well, actually, last seen with a stubbly head and face in the snows of what appears to be Russia as part of a large group of prisoners working on a railroad, so there's that. But surely then, this means that we'll be seeing a return of the heroic spy slayer. Well, if you said yes, then you'd be, of course, right. Harbour himself, while chatting to Total Film, explained that his character had to change, and there needed to be a way to resurrect him in some way. He added, "We'll see a very different guy going forwards, the same guy, but in a different vein. It's a very cool thing to be able to play." Hopper has, of course, always been a guy who likes his quiet mornings, but isn't afraid to leap into hell and bust up some bad guys when his drive as a police officer calls for it. Backstory. Of course, it's pretty unclear how he survived at all, but Harbour has revealed that Season 4 will be giving Hopper more of a backstory, calling back to those boxes in his attic labeled Dad, Vietnam, and New York. He also said at Liverpool Comic Con that, in Season 4, we will give you a big, huge reveal about Hopper's backstory, which we haven't really told you about. We're gonna express it in a big way. It's my favorite thing about him that you guys don't know about him yet, but it has to do with these backstories of New York, Vietnam, and Dad. He even added, "I think I have the best storyline. What we're trying to do as we elaborate this thing is to draw it back and make sure that we don't have an end game like some of us thought about that show Lost. What happened to the polar bear?" he said. For anyone who doesn't get the reference, he's talking about the frustrating conclusion to Lost that left multiple unanswered questions that were kind of the whole point of the show. That's what Stranger Things will be dying to avoid. Plot. It's been a long wait for Season 4, and most people are dying to wait and find out more about what happened after the Mind Flayer was finally defeated. Or was it? At the end of Season 3, the town of Hawkins was forever rocked by the events of the Battle of Starcourt, in which our intrepid band of kids, teens, and adults battled the eldritch horror of the Mind Flayer in its gigantic body of dead flesh and rats. It's not like the town can just go back to normal after such an event. It must have changed everything for the residents, many of whom obviously wouldn't have noticed the rather smaller scale events of the first 2 seasons. A giant body horror monster getting blasted with fireworks and killing people in a giant mall that's really a Russian spy base for magical experiments isn't exactly going to get skipped by the newspapers. But now, of course, our group of friends are also split for the first time, and now they're in high school too. Of course, that's not what the show is about. It's about how a new and predictably horrifying supernatural threat turns up, and according to the synopsis of the show's 4th season, this new horror will be presenting a gruesome mystery that, if solved, might finally put an end to the horrors of the Upside Down. Natalia Dyer, who plays Nancy, said, "Honestly, the scripts are great. Every time we end a season, we all think, where is this gonna go? Where can this possibly go?" Then we get the scripts for the next season and we're like, oh my god, wow, like, wow. She went on to say, it's going to be really big. It's going to be big. The other side of this is, of course, that is the lab we saw at the end of season 3, where the Soviets apparently seem to have another Demogorgon, having somehow captured it. Is this evidence that the gate to the Upside Down hasn't been properly shut, or are Demogorgons able to create gates, or perhaps don't need them? We saw the Demogorgon in season 1 appearing out of all sorts of places, so that could be the answer. Of course, that then wouldn't answer how the Russians have got one in captivity. Now, with Hopper seemingly in Russia and the Byers family having left Hawkins, it seems as though the setting of the show has no choice but to explore outside the once sleepy little town and into other places. We saw in a trailer that the Byerses are in California now, so that might have something to do with it. The Hellfire Club. There's been an icon that's appeared on t-shirts and other things associated with the 4th season, and that's of the Hellfire Club, a demonic face, a ball and chain, and a flaming sword with what appear to be different-sided dice like those used in Dungeons & Dragons. The Hellfire Club also happens to be the name of the first episode of season 4, so you know it's going to have some big repercussions on the rest of the show. It's also the name of a group of villains in X-Men comics, as well as the name of an aristocratic group in real life a couple of 100 years ago. Other episodes that could give an indication of how the show is going to go include Dear Billy for episode 4 and The Massacre at Hawkins' Lab for episode 7. Fans of the Hopper-Eleven relationship who were saddened by the way it ended in season 3 may be horrified or thrilled by the 8th episode's title, Papa. Whatever does happen, it's clear that the show's creators have some ambitious plans for season 4. There's even a rumor of some time travel. Who knows? But if you want to know more, you'd better stay tuned for more news and speculation in the future. Are you looking forward to Stranger Things season 4 and even 5 one day?